Just 1 week before this moment on Capitol Hill, Steve Bannon leaving a marathon meeting.
Great day.
A more dramatic one in Washington, with the FBI showing up at Bannon's D.C. home last Tuesday, intent on serving a subpoena for the special counsel, according to someone familiar with the proceedings. That order means he could come face to face with Robert Mueller's team by the end of the month, a source close to Bannon tells NBC News, adding, Bannon plans to tell all. Quote, he'll answer any questions Mueller has. It would make Bannon among the highest profile officials to meet with Mueller just weeks after a new book published his explosive comments, later slammed by the president, with their relationship on the rocks.
If there's nothing to hide, then the president should hope that Mr. Mueller speaks to everybody who was around him.
Is the White House afraid of what Steve Bannon might say in these interviews?
Not that I'm aware of.
Bannon, like others who spent time in the president's inner circle, is being questioned in multiple Russia investigations, not just Mueller's. There's inquiries on Capitol Hill, too. That's where Bannon spent nearly 10 hours with the House Intelligence Committee yesterday. But the former chief strategist refused to answer questions about his time inside the White House because, he says, the White House told him not to, citing the potential for executive privilege. That privilege allows confidential conversations with the president to stay that way.
Executive privilege is something that goes back decades because it's something that needs to be protected.
Bottom line, the Russia investigations are not over yet, as the shadow of the special counsel creeps closer to the Oval Office. And another familiar face to Donald Trump is also speaking with House investigators, former campaign chair Corey Lewandowski. But tonight, the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee says Lewandowski was uncooperative and unwilling to answer even basic questions about the president.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.